Teaching IELTS Academic Writing. Hello dear tutor. This video is about teaching IELTS academic writing. We will divide this video into two parts, which includes basic information of IELTS writing task and teaching strategies for task 1 and 2 respectively. Let's get started now. Part 1. Teaching academic writing task 1. Number 1. Introduction of the task 1. IELTS has two writing tasks. The writing task 1 requires the candidate to write a summary of at least 150 words in response to a particular graph. Example: bar, line, or pie graph. Table, chart, or process. How something works. How something is done. This task tests the candidate's ability to select and report the main features, to describe and compare data, identify significance and trends in factual information, or describe a process. Number 2. Teaching focus. 1. Lead your students to identify the main trend. When seeing graphs, some students might present all small details, which actually does not respond to the requirement of summarize the information by selecting and reporting the main features properly. So, please lead your students to describe the most general trends, including the most striking characteristics. Example: don't. It went up by 2% and then dropped up 5%, then rose again for 2 years and again dropped by 2%. Do. It fluctuated between 5% and 2% for the first quarter of the year. Number 2. Lead your student to paraphrase. Paraphrasing is simply rewriting a phrase or sentence so that it has the same meaning, but with different words, which is a highly valued ability for the students' study in abroad. So, IELTS, as the language preparation for students, attaches great importance to it as well. However, the majority of the Chinese students are not good at this for lacking of paraphrasing awareness or low English proficiency. Here are 4 methods that you can direct your student to practice paraphrase during the class. Method number 1. Using synonyms. Synonyms are different words that have the same meaning. For example, humans is a synonym of people, and attractive is a synonym of beautiful. This method simply replaces words with the same meaning in order to produce a new sentence. Method number 2. Change the word order. Changing the word order also allows us to effectively paraphrase a sentence. But again, we have to be careful. Don't change the word order without thinking about how this affects the grammar of the sentence. By changing the word order, you may have to add a word, subtract a word, or change the form of the word. Method number 3. Change the form of the word. There are many different forms of words, including nouns, verbs, adjectives, and adverbs. Changing the form of a word allows us to paraphrase effectively. Again, don't just change the form of the word. You also need to check that your changes make grammatical sense. You might need to change the words around it to make the sentence error-free. Method number 4. Change from active to passive. The passive voice is often used in academic writing and can therefore be used in the IELTS academic writing test. Only verbs with an object can be turned into the passive. Part 2. Teaching writing task 2. 1. Introduction of the task 2. The writing task 2 carries more weight in marking than task 1, which requires examinees to write at least 250 words. They will be presented with a topic and will be tested on their ability to respond by giving and justifying an opinion, discussing the topic, summarizing details, outlining problems, identifying possible solutions, and supporting the writing with reasons, arguments, and relevant examples from their own knowledge or experience. 2. Teaching form. 1. Teach the student to analyze the question. This is probably the most important stage. Students will not get more than score 5.0 if they don't address all parts of the question. Here are 3 steps that you can help your students to do when analyzing the questions. Step 1. Find keywords. This tells us not only what we should write about, but what we shouldn't write about. Step 2. Find micro-keywords. These words define the question and tell you which particular part of the main topic that the question would like you to discuss and what the examiner is looking for. They often give an opinion or qualify the statement in some way. Step 3. Find instruction words. Instruction words present what the examiner wants us to do. They could ask us to give an opinion, or evaluate the advantages and disadvantages, or present problems and solutions. The following is an example of question analysis. Sample question. One of the consequences of improved medical care is that the people are living longer and life expectancy is increasing. Do you think the advantages of this outweigh the disadvantages? Sample analysis. The keywords here are improved medical care. We should discuss things related to it instead of any other things. Apart from this, we also need to think about things more specifically and look for micro keywords. They are living longer and life expectancy is increasing. We therefore need to write about these and how improved medical care has increased life expectancy. Finally, the instruction words are: do you think the advantages of this outweigh the disadvantages? In this example, we will have to decide which side, whether advantages or disadvantages, is stronger. If you choose advantages, then you will have to say why these are much stronger than the advantages and why the disadvantages are not so strong. If you just discuss the advantages, you will not answer the question correctly. We will also need to make our opinion about this very clear. 2. Teach the student how to think of the ideas. One of the biggest fears that students have is opening up the writing paper, looking at the question, and having no idea what to write. Idea generation in Task 2 is something students worry a lot about. But it doesn't have to be that way. Here are methods for the student to think and extend their ideas. 5. Questions method. This method uses who, what, why, where, how question words in order to generate ideas for writing task. This works best for people who think very logically and also know a little bit about the topic already. Let's look at an example. In some countries, young people are encouraged to work or travel for a year between finishing high school and starting university studies. Discuss the advantages and disadvantages for young people who decide to do this. Why? To gain work experience, to experience life in different countries, to understand different cultures, to make money before going to university. Lazy, not mature. Where? Tourist destinations, developing countries, local business, internship in big company. How? Save money, permission from parents and university. Apply for internship or job travel to inexpensive countries. So, as you can see, in a couple of minutes, we have generated many ideas by asking ourselves just 3 of the 5 questions. These ideas are much more than we need to complete the task. Giving example. Examples, if used properly, not only help you get higher marks for task response, but also for coherence. Examples make the writing easier to understand by illustrating points more effectively. They're also easy to write because it is much simpler to use an example than to try and explain a complex issue. But when giving examples, try to be specific by adding dates, place, business, university names, names of people, statistics, and so on. 3. Teach the student to develop a well-organized paragraph. In order to be easy to understand, a paragraph should have only one main idea. A common mistake by IELTS students in Task 2 is thinking that if they include lots of ideas, they will get higher marks. In fact, the opposite is true. They get higher marks for developing the ideas with explanations and examples. Below is a sample structure that the examiners are looking for. First, giving a topic sentence. State your main point. Second, providing explanation. What does your main point mean? Why have you included it? How does it answer the question? Finally, supporting with specific examples that illustrates your main point. 4. Introduce academic writing conventions to the student. Many IELTS candidates have limited knowledge of academic writing style, for their low English proficiency, and also for the lack of opportunities to write formal English essay. So, show some examples and get students to notice for themselves how academic writing differs from writing a letter to a friend. Okay, this is all for teaching IELTS academic writing. Thanks for watching. Enjoy teaching in ACADSOC